Hi, welcome back to part two. Part two. And two. Orky's still kicking about. So, here's where cards now. It's been about 40 minutes and we've got a clean break. So how do we come? We've got a clean break. You see how it looks? You see how it's breaking there? If I just, I'll get a spoon. Do you see if I lift the cards, it just splits nice, solid, look at, and then falls back again. That's a clean break, okay? So we're going to cut the cards. So, I want these cards about a centimetre. So, you can see there, they're quite firm. I love this knife because it goes on the white bottom of this pan. About a centimetre. There's no hard fast. But you want quite small cards for a farmhouse because that's what we're doing. I suppose I tell you when we're mounting a farmhouse. So we're going to cut crossways, like so. Can you see? I'll take care of this way. So we're cutting across this way, okay, to 1 centimetre. And you can see that there's some cream in the top. And then we're just going to cut the opposite way, like so. Now, as we cut, the cards will start to release whey, and you may well see the whey coming up. Now, the whey should be, for the best part, it should be clear. So, when you cut it, as I say, we're going for about a centimetre cube. The surface area of your whey cubes will let out. I'm just going to go around the edge because I find that sometimes it just sticks around the edge, so all the way at the bottom there. So I've done up and down cuts and I've done across the white cuts. So therefore means it's just great big long, which is where the tatty masher comes in. Genius. It was me come up with this, nobody else. So what we're going to do is, oh, big fly. Big fly for the middle of winter. I'm going to cut it. I'm just going to go for about a centimetre. And then through the middle. And I'm going to go for a centimetre. I'm going to go all the way around the edge again. Now, just kind of winging it because obviously I can't see down in here, so and it's spinning a wee bit, but about a centimetre. Cut the curves again. Now, like I said, this is a guide, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And then the last thing, sometimes the hardest thing, but my hands are clean, so we're just gonna. And I'm actually the white the bottom. Okay. Now, we're going to put the lid back on and leave it for just 5 minutes and then I'll bring you back. Okay. So I'm going to pause you for 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes, guys. So welcome back. And that's your 5 minutes. So you can see by the pan there that we've actually got some cards and some whey. The cards are just sitting settled underneath the whey. I'm just wiping my slotted spoon with a bit of vinegar. Now I've got this back on the heat and we're just going to slowly, very gently to start with, we're going to turn now the cards. Now, if you see some big bits, you're best to cut them. But we're just going to start to turn it over as we slowly, see there's a long bit. Oh. See a foreign body, do pick it out. We're going to cut up these big bits. You'll always get big bits unless you've got a fancy schmancy cheese cutter. But it's not a panic, we can cut it gently you can see some of the lines, even though we went in with the tatty masher. So we're just going to cut them up into more cubes. Now we're back on the heat here, back on the double boiler, and we're just going to chop these cards up and gently lift them, as I find that I need to do, is gently lift them. Now we're going to raise this up by about a degree over a half-hour period. Now sometimes I find that I'll end up doing it a wee bit quicker, and it's not a good idea because you want to slowly let the curds release the whey, and the curd size will start to reduce. So you don't really want to do it too quickly. You want to do it quite slowly, but given that sometimes for me it is now, you know, after 9 o'clock at night, I have to get up and go to work and start work in the morning before it's even light. I'm off here back at 5 in the morning. So yeah, late nights and mac and cheese sometimes makes me speed it up. Now, it's no fantastic idea to speed it up, but as long as my curds shrink in size enough, and I'm no cheddar and I didn't do any of that layer, and I'm basically making a farmhouse, especially when I haven't got time to do anything else. You can see already just by that bit of heat, and there's not a huge amount of heat on there, but you can see already the curds are starting to look a bit more round and a bit less square. The whey is increasing and the curd size is reducing into nice little sort of baked bean size bits. Now, I don't really follow a recipe either. So you're just gonna, as I say, slowly turn it over. Try and cut the most of them big bits, and you will get an odd big bit comes up. And what you'll find is the curd shape will, instead of being a sharp square, will start to just, as I say, become a baked bean shape. And that's it, just starting to form and release as much whey as it can, because it'll shrink the curds as the whey is released. It becomes, ooh, big lump here, look. And that's, you're turning around because you don't want the curds to mat, which basically means you don't want it to go in one big clump. So just keep turning it over. Don't be too rough with it. You know, you're not stirring it. For me, I just lift it, try and find the lumps. That's what I do. And we're slowly reducing it up to 34 degrees centigrade, obviously. And a wee bit of clump in there. And it's going to be quite slow. So obviously I'm on a double boiler here. And you're just lifting the curds. And you get a biggie, just cut it up into nice little bitties. You can go in with your hands, as long as they're clean. You know, the way you does get warm. It's not going to get overly hot, but it does get warm. You don't want to heat it up too much. Because what you'll find is the curds will start to mat together, and you'll struggle. So it's only going up at, like I said, it's only going up to 91 degrees rather than anything really too high. And you want it to be about half an hour, but like I said, I am speeding it up slightly, and it does show that, you know, it's near the be all and end all if you have to heat it up a wee bit quicker, but it's not ideal. But like I said, sometimes because of time or commitments or whatever it is, then you want to speed it up a wee bit. Now, to say, it's quite good. The card size is reduced a good bit. Got some nice little bitties there. And as you see, the whey is beautifully yellow, which means that it's nae releasing it too quick, you're nae losing the proteins. It's just whey, it's in there. If it was milky coloured, then you'd be concerned, but it should be that beautiful yellow, almost like a runny honey colour, I guess. And that's me just at my target temperature. So I'm gonna remove this for the heat, because I don't want it to raise up on me, and I'm gonna pop it on the top of this clit here, if you can see me. If you can't, then I'll move it so you can. So this is just my, as you see, my bain marie. It's just my hot water. Gonna do a switcheroony here, so that you can see what's going on. So as I say, no heat on here, and you can see that this looks now like a pot of whey. Now, I'm quite happy with that. Now we're going to leave the curds to sink to the bottom just for a 5 minutes. Temperature's fine. I'm happy enough with that. And the next stage is going to be, let me just remove this pan. Yeah, the benefits of a nice firm floor. Now, I've got quite a lot of cards, but I think I'll probably manage them in my wooden mould. It's all guesswork. Now what you normally need at this point in time is you need a bucket to catch your whey if you're going to be tipping it. So for me, I'm not planning on tipping it. This can be quite messy, especially when your husband comes and makes soup and then leaves it in the kitchen. Nice one, Justin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mould into this bowl here. And we've got a nice clean muslin, and we're going to pop it in there. So we're going to use this to remove our curds from here, which they'll have formed quite a hard mass. Now, if I find that it's just not going to fit in here, we're going to lift this out and transfer it into this mould. But there tends to be an awful lot of whey. So here we go. We're going to lift the curds, and you can see how the curds are starting to mat and form. And we're just going to pop them into here. Now, if you wanted to salt your cheese, you can salt your cheese by salting it on the outside. Or you can drain your curds in a bowl, a colander, and then you can add it into your curds. So I can already tell that this is quite a large amount of curds. So my options are, I continue to plop my curds into my favourite mould, which isn't going to have hardly any, or we can make 2 cheeses and use the other end. But given I've only got 1 press so far, we're going to transfer into this one, okay? Which is going to make a terrible mess, terrible mess. So, like we discussed earlier, I'm going to need to use my thin muslin. Now, you don't want these curds to get cold, so I'm just going to plop that on there. And we're going to transfer this curds back onto that mould. Like so. Now, I don't actually fuss too much about the cheese being salted, because you can do a couple of things actually. You can brine it, I love how things don't always go to plan when you're making videos. And that didn't go to plan me at all. So I'm going to just tip that way as my muslin just slid slightly as I was doing it. And that's what happens. You don't panic. Don't panic. There's no point in panicking. Panicking when you get your name on. Right. So we're going to continue on and we're going to lift these cards and we're going to plop them into the big mould. You can see there that there's a lot of cards coming out. Now, this is mainly because it's a jersey. You might find if you've got something like a, I don't know, Holstein or a Frisian, the card mass is not going to be so much because there's not as much milk fat solids, and that's what it's all about. Your cheese. I skim my cream, believe it or not. The cream, for the best part, has been skimmed off this. I'm going to get out the cards out of there. And I mind if there's a little bit of cards left in there because the cards are then used. My cards are, my way is used outside. I feed chickens with it. You could feed pigs depending on the country you're in, but in the UK it's not allowed. But anywhere else it can be, depending on the legislation in your country. But for us, we can feed it to the chickens, feed it to the dogs. In the UK you can't put it down the drain. It's suggested not to be putting it down the drain, so I put it down the drain. It's corrosive to the pipes, this is why. So I like to do this on my draining board, and hopefully you can see me over there. I'm not sure, maybe I'll lift you over, see if I can get you a bit better out here. Right, so we're on the draining board, balanced. I'm going to have to come up with something a wee bit better than this, but anyway, you can see, so you'll be okay. We'll move the cheese strainer for there, the milk strainer for there, and you can see quite well for there. So we've got our cards, and as I say, there's a huge mass of cards, and what we're going to do is I'm going to bring this across so that you can see what's happening. Here we go. Now, here we are. So we've got these cards. There is some marks on this muslin, this net curtain, but don't worry, it is very clean. And if it wasn't clean, then we'd be having problems. So you can see there that the card mass has come pretty much at the top. Now this is a nice, lovely, warm card mass. And the next trick is we're going to press it. Now, if there's too much cards, it's not much fun. But this is going to be a big cheese. And we don't want to press it too hard to start with because we don't want to lose we don't want to lose any of that good quality protein that we're making the cheese with. So we're going to slip it into here. And quite often, to stop it going down the drain and corroding my pipes, what I do is I've got a metal tray, which I like to, just let me get a wee turn, pop underneath here, and or I can smell the cheese on the go. And I normally put it across this way because the whey will just run off, and you can see there, if you look closely, you can see the whey is already starting to run off. Now, I haven't actually put any pressure on this really at all. It's just the way it will follow, but I am going to get a wee press, very, very gently, to start with, purely because it's quite full. Now, like I said, you don't want to press too hard because you want to get some whey, but you don't want to get you don't want it to be coloured. It should be beautifully clear. Just look at it. You see it? Nice and clear. And it's just trickling. You don't want it pouring out really. You just want it slowly trickling. Now I'm going to press that for around 10 minutes and then I'm going to flip it over and you can come back and see after 10 minutes. I will pause you and bring you back. Okay, welcome back. You've been paused for a wee minute. So this has been sitting in the press now for about 10 minutes. I've drained off the whey a couple of times. I'm just going to do it again. And I've got some whey drained off there. Just going to pop out on the draining board there. Right, so as I said to you before, is when you're messing with the cheese, oops, sorry guys, when you're messing with the cheese, you wanna really use a bit of vinegar on your hands, just to make sure that there's no bacteria on your hands when you're going to mess it. So we're going to undo the press here, and you can see that the cheese is reduced, substantially reduced, and it's pressed a good lot of whey out. We've got a bowl over here with whey in it, and I changed out the cloth, put back in a regular muslin, which yeah, I find difficult to get it level, but it is what it is. So the curds are still quite warm, but they have actually formed, not solidly, but they are forming. So what I'm going to do, as you can see there, it's formed a nice, reasonably firm mass. It's not solid. So I'm going to do is pop that cloth on and I'm going to flip it over. Now the reason is that there's going to be some more whey on the bottom half of it. So you can see there, it's near 100% solid. But it is a firm enough mass for me to turn it over. And it's still, as I say, really quite warm. I do often think that you could probably just get away with pressing it against the plastic and you probably get just as good a form. However, the muslin seems to be the done thing. Sometimes actually the muslins stick. So I think if you're using a plastic mould, it would probably be quite a good idea to just use the plastic mould and nae worry about a muslin. But as I say, it's a personal preference. So there it is, it's back in there now. I tend to do this again and then flip it again and then press it down. Probably as hard as you can press it. If you've got a press, you're looking at about £50. If you've got an adjustable press. If you haven't got an adjustable press, screw it down as far as you can. Because if you don't screw it down hard, you will get, as I discussed with you earlier, you'll get air holes in it. So you really do want to, now this is the top off my other one, and the reason I'm doing that is so that I'm using it as a follower, because the cheese is dropped down into the mould quite far actually, and so because it's passed into the mould quite the ways down, then I need something to raise it up so that my bar can then press again. Now you can see there, as I'm pressing, that the whey is starting to run again. I don't know if you can see here that it's starting to run again. And I'm going to press it down. A reasonable pressing, but you don't want it too hard. As long as the whey is coming out as a trickle or as a few drips rather than running like a barn. That means it's slowly pressing it out rather than pressing it out too quick. Again, as I said, you want it to be clear, you don't want it to be milky. So yeah, you can see just there, I'll bring you down so that you can see that the whey is just slowly trickling out. Not too quick, just trickling away.